Hola, senoritas and senors. Let me ask you this question. The question is this. How can two brothers go to war? And they both witness things that no human that doesn't experience war will ever even come close to comprehending. The scenes, the senseless deaths, they come back both to the U.S. And one brother says, because of what I witnessed over there, I now take a vow of atheism. There's no God. The other brother says, because of what I witnessed over there, I now take a vow to dedicate the rest of my life to preaching God's word, because I know for a fact there's a God after witnessing what I just saw. How does that happen? Those two guys were actually my great uncles. Or let me tell you another story while we're sitting here at story time with Sherry. Another story is, how can two ladies, they both hit 70 years old, and one lady at age 70 dictates that after 7 decades of living, her body is now starting to break down and it's the end of her life. And so she has to start wrapping up her will, wrapping up all of her finances to get ready to die. While another lady just hit 70 years old and she's like, 7 decades on this planet. What does that mean to me? That means let's start phase 2. Why don't I go start mountain climbing? And so at 70 years old, she begins to learn how to mountain climb. Never mountain climbed in her entire life. And at age 82, Helda becomes the oldest woman in history to climb Mount Fuji. What's the difference between these two? What's the difference between my two uncles? What is it? What do you think? I'm not going to give you the answer that easy. It's their beliefs of what these events actually mean to them. And that's what I want to come to and talk to you about this today, because our beliefs are what dictate whether we're going to be a 70-year-old lady that wants to go die or the 70-year-old lady that wants to go mountain climbing. Our beliefs are going to dictate whether they're going to be uncle number one that sees war as a way to become atheist, or my other uncle that saw war as a way to validate that there is a God. That all comes down to just beliefs, what we actually believe in. And the question is, how are beliefs formed? Let me tell you. Beliefs start out with, number one, they just start out with just an idea. An idea, Robin's research is the one that really made me understand this the best. And what he said was, he said beliefs, so that was just an idea. An idea is like a table with no legs. So if something is phase one, just an idea, it's like a table with no legs, just a little circle floating there. And since there's no leg supporting it, it can be dropped at any time. It can be changed whenever somebody else comes in with a stronger idea. It can be changed whenever you wake up in a bad mood, like depending on what state you're in moment to moment, you can change your own idea. Or it can be changed by the wind. Like, the point is, ideas can be changed. Now the phase two, that's whenever an idea turns into a belief. And that's whenever the little round circle starts to get legs. And whenever it gets legs, then it starts to become a belief. And the question is, what are legs? Well, legs are reference points in life that help validate your idea. So let's say your idea is, I'm not very smart in school. If that's your idea, I'm not very smart in school, then all of a sudden your brain goes on autopilot and starts to filter these events in our past and filter these events in our current future, filters all these events to help validate that idea. So they'll say, you know what? I'm not very smart. How do I know that's true? Then it will say, okay, well, back in the 3rd grade, Mrs. Johnson told me I wasn't very smart. That's how I know I'm not very smart. But let's not just stop there. One time, back in my senior year of college, I got a C on a grade. That confirms I'm not very smart. And you know what? One of my friends, back when I was 3 years old, told me I was a dummy. That right there, I got 3 different legs validating my idea. So an idea, once it has legs, turns into a belief. And whenever you start to believe things, that starts to actually dictate your behavior. And what's so crazy, one thing I want you to understand is these reference points, they can be based on reality or not based on reality. Meaning the legs you choose to validate your idea, you validate them based on your interpretation of what it means. Meaning something that I really want to point this home, because you can have a reference point validating your idea, and in no way does it actually in reality validate the idea. But because that's the filter you're viewing the world, all of a sudden you feel like Miss Johnson saying that you were dumb validates the idea that you were actually dumb when actually she wasn't even talking to you. She was talking about the dog that was running across the street, but you overheard it, and for some reason you thought it was you. And so now, 30 years later, you think that you're dumb. Does that make sense? And also, one thing I want to hit on just really quick is something called generalization, because we deal with it on a regular basis. And what generalization is what your brain does is it starts looking for patterns. And then all of a sudden, it forms a generalization. Meaning, let's going back to a generalization. Let's say making phone calls. One of the companies I run, we do a lot of phone calls. And so there's at times where people say, nobody ever answers the phone, ever. Well, if you believe nobody ever answers the phone, number one is that's a dangerous trap, because if you start to believe that, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because next thing you know, if you believe no one's going to answer the phone, then you're going to quit making phone calls, which invalidates nobody's ever going to answer the phone because you're not calling them. So whenever anybody starts to saying these global type beliefs like everyone, nobody, always, I always start to question number one. So let's say somebody says that nobody ever answers the phone. I'm like, really? Tell me, out of 8 billion people in the world that you called, because you said nobody ever answers the phone, how many of those 8 billion people did they answer the phone? Oh, you mean you didn't call all 8 billion people? How many people did you call then? Of everybody in the world, how many 8 billion people did you call? Oh, you called 2 people 3 months ago. And they didn't answer the phone. You get where I'm going with this? And how can I speak so bluntly to this? Because this is me on a daily basis. Whenever I start to hear myself make any sort of global statements, I have to stop myself and say, okay, Sherry, is that true? Is that really every, or are you being a little bit dramatic? Because what I know is once you start to trap in yourself in these generalizations, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you start to believe it. Another example is not only can you start doing these generalizations on you that can start limiting you, like I'm always late. Watch out that word, I'm always late. Is it really true? Are you always 100% late? Are you always? Or I never do good on tests, or I always get upset over the smallest things. That's a really bad self-fulfilling prophecy you really don't want to indulge in. But you start making these always or everyone or all the time. But not only on you. What I was referencing was you can also start doing it on your partner. You know, your honey bunny. Or you can start doing it on your family, your kids. An example is, let's say, you know, your honey bunny doesn't put away the dishes. Just one day, doesn't put away dishes. Let's say it happens 2 times in the last month, 2 times in the last week, even just last week. You can look at them and be like, oh my gosh, because you did this 2 times, you never put away your dishes anymore. Why are you just so careless nowadays? Or let's say one night he doesn't want to go out on the town with you. He doesn't want to go socialize. Let's say he does it 1 time, 2 times. Oh my gosh, if he does it 3 times in a month or 3 times in a row. You're like, you never want to go out with me anymore. What's wrong? You don't love me anymore. Right? Tell me if I'm relating to you. I'm just curious. But in reality, the point is generalizations can kill you. Generalizations can also make life really easy. Generalizations is why you're able to get into your car, a strange person's car or a friend's car, a car at a dealership, because you have enough reference points in your life to where you've opened up enough car doors to where you feel pretty confident you can open up car doors. It's simple. And so you can go to a car dealership, open up a car door without reading the owner's manual, without asking how you open this up. Because these generalizations. So generalizations can serve you in a good way, but it can also be like drinking arsenic-laced lemonade. Right? You following? So let's go back to the creation of how this all works. So it starts out with an idea. Idea can be moved or not moved. It's just like really flippant. And then once you start getting reference points, then it turns into a belief. And the more emotionally intense the reference points are, the thicker the legs are. The more personal, the reference points are, the thicker their legs are. And do you realize you can build reference points by not even your own experiences? You can build reference points by your friends' experiences. Or this magazine that's talking about your friends or strangers' experiences. You can build reference points from all over. And then once you have this belief, the third step is it can turn into a conviction. And the conviction, it's a whole nother level. That's where you like crank up the intensity up to like a 10x. And a conviction is something that you'll die for. A conviction is something that you associate with your identity for. Conviction is something that you will get very angry if somebody actually questions it. In fact, you associate pain to even not believing that conviction. Because if I don't believe this anymore, if this isn't right, then this is questioning who I am as a person. If I don't believe this anymore, that means I've been living this lie. Like that's what a conviction is. So to give you just a really quick example is if somebody's participating in an idea, and let's say the idea is they want to support these charities overseas to go help underprivileged kids get an education. If somebody just has an idea, they're going to tell some people about it and say, you know what, that's a good idea, and throw their opinion in at these parties. That's an idea. Cool. If somebody has a belief, they're probably going to write a big check and help support it financially. But if somebody has a conviction, they're the ones over there building the schools. They're the one over there like filling the teachers. They're the one over there getting all the kids in because it's their conviction. It's who they are. It's their purpose. Are you following this? Drop it down below. I'm just pushing. Are you following this right now? I'm just curious. See, one thing I want to point out just really quick is most of us, three things. Most of us do not consciously, listen closely, most of us do not consciously decide what we're going to believe. In fact, probably 95% of all of our beliefs are based on our misinterpretation of a past event. Meaning you interpreted it wrong. You interpreted how it was not meant to go be interpreted. Let's say an example, let's go back to another relationship again. Let's say your wife or your husband or your partner or whatever doesn't take out the trash 2 times in a row. You're like, oh my gosh, you don't love me anymore because you're not taking out the trash anymore. You just never do it. You've only not done it twice, but you never do it. And then what happens is next thing you know, you have this conversation with him, and then the kid's out there taking out the garbage, and it's not him. And your meaning you slap on it, your belief you slap on it is, again, you just had this conversation, and now he's not taking out the trash. Now he really doesn't care about you. Now he's really not lifting his own weight. Oh my gosh, the world's going to die. I'm being a little dramatic, but isn't this kind of real sometimes? And what the purpose was behind the scenes, so you build that as a belief to validate another one of your legs in your belief that he's slacking, that he doesn't love you anymore, that he's XYZ. You have another leg. But that was just your interpretation. You didn't realize that it was Mother's Day and the kid asked the dad if he could take out the garbage to get some brownie points with you as the mom. That's the real reason the kid was doing it and the dad wasn't. But that's not based on your interpretation. See, what happens is whenever you start to get this belief, you will view every single thing in life as a way to go validate your belief. Whether you realize it or not. Whether you realize it or not, your brain will go on this autopilot looking for all these events to validate what you believe. This will serve you or not serve you. If it's unconsciously, if you haven't intentionally decided to build that belief, 90-95% of the time, it's to not serve you. This is the difference, whether you consciously build your beliefs or unconsciously, this is the difference between a lifetime of victory and just juiciness and success versus a lifetime of misery and blame. So number 3 is once we adopt a belief, it becomes a reality and you don't question it anymore. So let me go over those 3 things really quick. Number 1 is most of us do not consciously decide what we're going to go believe. Number 2, 90-95% of all of our beliefs are based on a misinterpretation of the past. And number 3, once we actually adopt the belief, it's now reality. It's now gospel. It's just what it is, and you don't question it anymore. Whenever you don't question it, that dictates your behavior, what you do and you don't do. So the question is, Sherry, you've been talking long enough. How do you get rid of these bad beliefs? How do you build these good beliefs? What do you do? What do you do? Well, let me tell you this really quick. Let's brainstorm for just a moment. And I want you to write down on a piece of paper. Write down a piece of paper. When's right now a good time to do it? Right now. Write down a piece of paper just really quick. Brainstorm some limiting beliefs you feel like you have. Right now. You can put this on pause. What's in limiting beliefs? Do you feel like you're not good enough? You feel like it's okay for other people to succeed, but not you. You're not very good at phone calls, or you're not a salesman. You can't sell ice cream Eskimo. All the good ones are taken. That's when I get messages a lot. All the good ones are taken. What if some limiting beliefs? Write them down. Okay, now once you have them written down, then I want you to ask yourself question number 1. By the way, this is an exercise I do repeatedly. Anytime I have a limiting belief within myself or a limiting belief with anybody in my inner circle, I do this immediately. And here's starting with number 1. Is ask yourself, why is this belief stupid? This belief that I can never be successful, if that's your example, if this belief I can never be successful, why is it stupid? Why is it stupid? And don't stop writing until you have plenty of different answers. It doesn't need to matter whether it makes sense or not. Just start writing. And if you can't think of anything, just start writing the word writing. You just start writing. Why is it stupid? Well, it's stupid because no, I've seen these people go from living homeless on the streets to now earning $1 million+ and speaking all over the world. I've seen people go from living in their car at age 73 years old, living on a $100 Social Security check, and now the dude's empire is worth like $5 billion, Colonel Sanders. I've seen them do it. Helga, she climbed Mount Fuji at age 80. Validate. Why is this belief stupid? Okay, number 2. The second question I really want you to ask yourself is, who gave you this belief and are they worth modeling? Who gave you this belief? Don't think long about just whatever's the first thing pops into your head. Was who gave you this belief? My next question is, are they worth modeling? Do they have everything you want in life? Do they have all the juiciness? Do they have all the love, all the relationships, all the money, all the success, all the energy? Do they have everything you want in that specific industry? Do they have everything you want? Are they worth modeling? Are they worth listening to? Would you trade your life for their life? Would you? Was it the kid back in kindergarten? Was it your 3rd grade teacher? Was it your mom? And regardless of how valuable they are in your life today, the question is, are they worth modeling? And write that answer down. And then the third thing is you got to get leverage on yourself, because if you want to get yourself to quit doing something, you got to associate massive amount of pain to it. So get leverage. What if I don't ever stop believing this belief? What if I hold on to this belief for the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years, the rest of my entire life? What if I can never overcome this belief? What's it going to cost me? What's it going to cost me financially? What is it going to cost me emotionally? My self-esteem. Knowing I can never overcome this. What's it going to cost me emotionally? Is this lack of discipline, this lack of belief, is it going to leak into other areas of my life, and how? What's it going to cost me physically to my body? What's it going to cost me in my relationships with my family, relationships with my spouse, relationships with my kids? What type of example am I setting? What's it going to cost me? I'm at the end of my life, I look back and I realize all these things I've missed out on because I couldn't get myself over it. What's it going to cost me? This right here, if you actually want to get yourself to eliminate this belief, you've got to make it painful. Directly where you're at right now, if you were to look back 10 years, if you're not satisfied with where you're at or the progress you made in the last 10 years, it's because your pattern of your beliefs, your pattern of your decisions, your pattern on your focus. If you're satisfied with the last 10 years of your life, then you're obviously doing a great job. High five, good job. But if you're not, if you want more, then this is the time to just make it really painful. You can go into the closet, shut the door. What's it going to cost you? And then the fourth thing is this. Here's the fun part. what would happen if you didn't actually have this limiting belief? If you really didn't believe you were stupid, you didn't believe you weren't worthy, you didn't believe that you were bad at sales, you didn't believe that all the good ones were out there taken. If you didn't believe that, what would it feel like? Oh, let's get a little bouncy here. What would it feel like? How would that breathe? How would you breathe? What would it be like? What would you go do? And so now what I want you to go and do is write down the antidote, write down the exact opposite. So if your belief is I'm stupid and I can't learn anything and I'm already way behind in life all the time, if that's your belief, write down the exact opposite, saying I'm brilliant. Like I'm so smart. I'm way ahead. Write down the exact opposite. If you think, I'm not lovable, say I'm like unconditionally loved. If you say, I'm not very good salesman, say I dominate at sales. I'm awesome. Just write down the exact opposite. Whether you believe it right now or not is irrelevant. 90 to 95% of all your beliefs are based on the misinterpretation of the past. If you want to hang on to these beliefs and stay in self-helplessness, then that's your deal. But now you can't claim ignorance after watching this, FYI. You can change your beliefs. You can change your beliefs right now. How do I know this? I've done this since my life multiple times. You don't want to be in learned helplessness. So say the exact opposite. And now the next step is we're going to go ahead and turn the idea, which is just the opposite, into having a whole bunch of little tiny legs. So how do you know that's true? So how do you know if your thought was I'm stupid, the opposite is I'm brilliant? How do you know you're brilliant? Just start writing down some little tiny things or big things. How do you know? It could be something back in the second grade, something that just happened today. How do you know this is true? And get creative. How do you know it's true? Right now, our brain goes on default and brings all these different events into our life and filters them into reasons why we can't do things. That's what your brain already does automatically, unchecked, uncensored, because your brain is a 2 million-year-old brain out there that makes you survive and makes you scared of everything so you don't get killed by this cougar or this tiger or this bear or this dinosaur. The problem is, when's the last time you saw a bear in your neighborhood? When's the last time you saw a dinosaur in your neighborhood? So our brain needs a little bit of updating. So how do you know this is true? Write down some reference points. And when's a good time right now to do it? You can put me on pause. Okay, so right there. How does it make you feel? Just like some emotions you're feeling right now. How does it make you feel? Pretty good? And how do you turn this belief into a solid belief? Is you go back and you condition it, just like your brain has been conditioning that old belief, that belief that doesn't serve you, has been conditioning it for X amount of years in your life. You go forward and you just recondition this new belief. So the second you start to feel yourself feel this way, ask yourself, is this 100% true? Like, really? What if I keep believing this for a long time? Oh gosh, that does not feel good. Let me get over here. And let me say the opposite, and let me start building reasons why. See, the beauty of this is you can literally build whatever beliefs you want in your life. You can build them. As cliche as that sounds, is 100% accurate. And how do I know this? Is I've done this in my life a lot. One of the things I used to struggle with is what 99.99% of the world struggles with. And there's the two basic human fears, the fear of not being enough and fear of not being loved. And one of my biggest fears was not being loved for whatever reason. I grew up in a super loving household, but for some reason, I would still seek approval out from other people. And especially these people I would seek approval from if they gave me any sort of criticism or negative feedback or I would die. I would take it as a attempt that they hate me, I'm not loved, I'm no good, and I'm horrible. And they just told me I could just, if I could improve what's one tiny space, it'd probably be here, Sherry. But I blew it into my mind like this big old deal. And the problem is I didn't feel like I was loved. If you had asked me this 6 years ago, I would have said, nah, I'm shutting this off. I'm not listening any further. This is crazy. But nowadays, I know that's true. And what happened is I was seeking love from everybody else because I didn't have any inside. And whenever I felt like they were taking love away, it was the illusion, by the way, my interpretation of the event, not the reality. They were doing it because they loved me, but my interpretation was they didn't love me. And because I felt like they were taking love away, then I would react out of fear. And whenever you react out of fear, 99.99% of the time, it's the wrong reaction. Unless, you're being chased by the bear, then you should probably run because out of fear. But 99% of the time, it's the wrong reaction. And so I learned is I want to react out of a place out of confidence, place out of security, place out of love, and not a place out of fear. So I built this belief that I am unconditionally loved. Yeah. I said, I'm unconditionally loved by me, Sherry Hollenbach, and I'm unconditionally loved by my creator. That was my idea. And even though in my head I was saying, that's not true. Like, what are you talking about, Sherry? I said, nope, it's true. And then what I did was I started building these different legs. I'm like, how do I know I'm loved? And so all of a sudden, it took me a minute, but all of a sudden, all these thoughts started coming to me. I'm like, I know I'm loved by my creator because one time I woke up while I was driving down the interstate, 2-lane highway, and one semi's going this way, one semi's going this way, and I woke up, I was right in between them. That's when I woke up, like going 80 miles an hour between these two semis in the middle of this blizzard. I woke up right there. And I'm still alive. Like, that's a sign that I'm loved by my creator. Another time, I can't tell you how many times I've fallen asleep on the side of the road because I used to do a ton of traveling and I didn't want to spend 6 hours in the hotel. I wanted to sleep 20 minutes, get back on the road. So I can't tell you how many times I've slept on the side of the road. Don't do it. I don't do it nowadays, but I used to. And I didn't get broken into or kidnapped. And then one time I was at this hotel and I started my car exploded in flames. Google it. Go to Sherry Hollenbach car exploding. It was in North Platte, Nebraska. It exploded. And I know I'm loved by my creator because I wasn't in the car when it could have exploded. I don't know why that one time it exploded, I wasn't in it. I know I'm loved by my creator because I've wrecked so many different cars. None of them were my fault, of course. I wrecked the whole truck and I'm still alive. That's how I know I'm loved. I know I love myself because I drink water. Like, I like to watch my nutrition. And if I didn't love myself, that means I wouldn't do that. So I built up all these different beliefs. And nowadays, not every time, but nowadays, I respond out of love. I respond out of security. I respond out of this place of confidence, not reacting to this place out of fear. And that wasn't an intention. That wasn't a belief I was just born with. Nobody's born with that belief. Nobody is. Every human has two fears: fear of not being loved, fear of not being enough. I had to intentionally build that belief into me. So in closing, here's one thing I want to tell you. Some people tell me, they say, Sherry, but I don't, that's not a true belief. There's no way impossible I can have success. There's no way impossible I can become a good salesman. There's no way impossible I can find my dream person. There's no, like, that's not a true belief. You're over there in La La Land. And here's what I gotta tell you. It doesn't matter what is true or what's not true. It doesn't matter what's a right belief or a false belief. What matters is what belief do you want to believe? What belief empowers you? What belief puts you in the best state? What belief allows you to do more, be more, become more? What belief is in line with your values? What is that belief? And then you start building it. So with that says, my absolute honor to get a chance to talk with you today. Absolute honor. And keep me posted. I would love to see your results on this. You got value out of this, you can click the little thing right there, that subscribe thing right over there. And you can hit share. See you guys later.